Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment. I love this part. I really do. I love welcoming our guests, but I like to stop and thank them for a couple of things. They're very expensive in my eyes. Let me put it this way. Time. Time is a beautiful commodity, and many of us misuse it, but it is a tool given to all of us, equally rich and poor. How we manage it is all up to us. The other is their journey. And the journey housed information that made that person who they are today. I want to thank Annie for both her time and her journey so that we can partake of her, so that we can learn to become the best human spirits possible while we occupy this beautiful space called Earth. Welcome to Threads of Enlightenment.
Thank you so very much, Ken. I'm delighted to be here with you.
It is an honor. Talk to us about the things that you have given birth. I've been trying to educate my listeners that we are all creators. That's how powerful we are. And tell them those things that you have given birth to as a result of your journey, your life's journey.
Oh, what have I given birth to? Yes, let me be just, if I can begin with, who I am.
Yes.
I like to talk about who I am at my core, because this is basically what I help other people with, is to
Mhm.
connect with their authentic self so that they can put their thoughts aside about not being good enough, of not being strong enough, pretty enough, etc., and just show up as their authentic self. So I say that I'm an exuberant, creative, heart-centered, courageous, wild Norwegian woman who loves
Love
to
it.
move my body, live
Mhm.
healthy, and explore my inner and outer world, and to adventure
Yeah.
in life. I'm really passionate about deeply connecting soul to soul with people and to help people release blocked energies. So, what I have then given birth to is a life purpose program that really helps people to identify, who are they? Who are
Mhm.
they at core, so that they can feel at peace with who they are and be able to give of the beautiful gifts that they have been given.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, so that's in
Yeah.
short what I've
Yeah.
given birth to.
And that's powerful. That is a powerful explanation of how one should be. And I cannot wait to have this conversation so that we can see how you got there. So talk to us, introduce us to when you were a young girl. You were brought from the hospital. You're in this first stage of your development as a human on this planet. You're with your family. Talk to us about your family unit, siblings, that type of thing.
Yes. So um, my mother and father were quite young having me, especially my mother, only 22 years old. And two very, I would say, enthusiastic, sporty people. But my father was very much into his own life and his own doings. And so
Mhm.
when I was 5 years old, my mother told me that she and I were going to move away and live on our own, leaving my little brother of 3 years old and my father behind, because
Wow.
my mother really did not want to have a second child, but my father actually kind of fooled her. Um, and yeah, he just told me this story now, that when I met him last time, that she had said, I don't want another child right now, because she was only 23 years old when she became pregnant with the second child. And then so I think she felt that it was just too much for her. So anyway,
Yeah.
she had fallen in love with a neighbor, and that promised her, a rose garden, I think. And she was just so much in love and so immature emotionally that she actually left my little brother behind, who was devastated, of course,
Yeah.
by all of a sudden losing his mother and me as well.
Yeah.
And that had also a very negative impact on me, because the man she then ended up marrying, he was an alcoholic, he was irresponsible with money, he was a slob, really disrespectful and faithful and violent. On top of
Wow.
it, he was mentally disturbed, and he tormented me for the 10 years that my mother remained in this marriage. So yeah, I had a very, it was very tough 10 years that I spent with this new family, being very disconnected from myself,
Mhm.
from my heart and soul, and also from my body, because I developed intolerances to various foods that went undiagnosed. And I was continuously in so much pain,
Yeah.
physically. My stomach was just a big knot. I was bloated. I was forced by my stepfather and my stepmother to drink milk when I was visiting them, and I was continuously having so much, yeah, diarrhea and vomited, and nobody understood uh, at the time, it was so many
Yeah.
years ago, that I was intolerant to both actually gluten and dairy. But that's all we ate in Norway was bread and yogurt and milk products basically. So
Wow.
so it was really tough. Yeah, it was a very tough years.
Wow. That is a traumatic life for this young girl, being ripped from her sibling and brought into that situation. It must be really, really traumatic. And as a result, and we've talked about this before, and I know people that are listening, when one internalizes emotions, it will show up. It'll show up in your body. And what form it shows up, um, that will probably deal with some of you, the individual. Um, and he's talking about her gut, and it showed up there, and it began to manifest and cause reactions and so forth. So here you are, you're moving through your life and you're dealing with these traumatic things physically as well as mentally. Um, you, and what, how were you dealing with that? This young girl mentally, what was her conversation with herself while she was there in that situation?
Mm. So I remember my first kind of my first job was to try to make my mother happy, because I saw her suffering so much. So I
Mm,
made it a mission to do what I could to support her and make her happy and help her at home, and be a good girl at home. Uh, but I did not have any ambitions for myself, and since I lived so much in fear, I could never relax at home. Neither actually in my home with my mom and my stepfather, and neither very much with my new stepmother and father either. It was just no place to rest. So I think I checked out so much mentally. I lived in La La Land,
yeah,
and I had a hard time in school to focus, and the style of learning, or the style of teaching in the school of Norway when I grew up was, you were sitting in rows, and so I there was one way communication, there was no engagement, and
yeah,
I'd lived in La La Land basically for about 10 years. And but the way I kept my energy high, because I've always had very high energy,
Mhm.
was to move my body. So I did gymnastics. I started dancing. I did anything I could to connect with my body. Also, I was spending a lot of time in nature with my father, so he really helped me to fall in love with with nature, with the mountains, the forest,
Yeah.
and I love picking flowers. And so I think that I connected somehow to myself when I moved my body. And But then I did wake up though. So at one point, we'll probably get to that.
Yeah. So here you are, you're moving through life and school is boring. And how did you relate to others, your schoolmates, your classmates, to other people outside of your family?
Mm.
How did you engage with them? What did it look
Mm.
like to a girl who was checked
Yeah.
out?
Yes, exactly. So I had I was not a person that liked to connect with a lot of, or I didn't have a lot of friends. I had like one friend at a time.
Mhm.
And I got one really good best friend from the age I was, yeah, from 9 years old until 15. It was basically she and I. And so I did not know how to really connect well. I didn't feel secure enough to connect with other people.
Yeah.
I think I was too afraid to be hurt. So
Mhm.
it felt safe to have this one girl in my life. But what I did was very interesting because I was very courageous. My mother did not have time to drive me anywhere. She was just overwhelmed with work and home and my new step siblings. So I walked everywhere, and I also started hitchhiking at a very early age. So I became very brave and street smart. So
Yeah.
that I think I learned to connect very quickly with people.
Yeah.
Just in order to feel safe when I got into these cars.
Hmm.
I started talking da, 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 da,
Yeah.
because then I thought if I talk a lot, then a person that picks me up cannot think clearly about a strategy to do something towards me, right? So I think I had those thoughts going on, but also I did like to connect with people, but
Mm.
it felt safer. It
Yeah.
felt safer to just meet with somebody for some minutes and then not having to see them again. But
Yeah.
to go deep and deepen my relationships, that was really hard for me. And that was hard for me for a very long time because I was
Wow.
so afraid to get hurt.
Yeah. I know that feeling and I know that space. Here you are, you're moving through and you're hitchhiking, you're learning the art of communication as you're moving through
Yes,
your life. And
yes.
so you're picking up a couple of things as on your journey, love for nature and the art of the communication and recognizing how to manage others in your space. As you're growing and gravitating and you're getting older, what did your future look like in your mind as to what did you want to attain and why did you want to get there? What was it that you were looking and that was motivating this young girl
Mm.
to
Mhm.
get up and move forward in her life?
Yeah. So, when it was so much turmoil at home, I kind of ran away from myself and from home. I spent a lot of time with my kind of best girlfriend. My mother told me that it was fine for me to spend time there. But then
Yeah.
my mom actually divorced for the second time when I was 15 years old. And when his kids, my stepfather's kids had moved out, she left him, thank God. But she didn't want to leave him before his children had moved out. To kind of she thought that she would actually harm those children so much by leaving
Mm.
him too early.
Yeah.
So that is when I kind of reconnected with myself, and I asked my mother Mom, like, what am I going to do when I grow up?
Mm.
And then she said, well, you can become a secretary like me. And I thought, oh my God, there's nothing wrong with being a secretary. But if
Yeah.
she believes that I can be somebody's secretary, she does not know me, because that I need a secretary. so
Yeah.
so that was my first real awakening, that I had really looked up to my mom in many ways, because she was very smart on so many levels, but intellectually smart. Maybe
Yeah.
not in choice of men, but uh, and I thought, I need to take my life in my own hands. I do not want to end up as a victim as my mother. I
Mhm.
don't want to get end up in a relationship where I feel dependent on anybody. And I started working really hard in school.
Mhm.
I thought I need to get, good grades in order to be able to get to university, and I want to study, and I want to, design my dream life. So it that was the first awakening I had when I was 15 years old. And I was quite spiritual already, having spent so much time in nature and just
Mhm.
believing that there must be more to life than what I had experienced at home. I knew it because I I was exploring the world through my hitchhiking and whatever. and
Yeah.
and my father, he was actually a competitive skier and water skier next to his work. So my first 5 years we traveled a lot,
Mm.
and then I got to meet and see that so many different people, and that they were living a different type of a life. I knew that somehow it had been ingrained in me, or instilled in me, that there must be more to life. And so
Yeah.
I became a seeker of a healthy, empowered life, from
Yeah.
at that age.
Wow, that's powerful. I think nature has a way of quietly making us spiritual because nature is a
Yes,
spiritual place, isn't it?
yes, yes.
So I think it does that. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and you know what? There's another really important point here, and I think that you will like that. Because when I started first grade, I was seven. In Norway, you start at age 7, and my teacher was very religious. So
Hmm.
what we did in class was to sing psalms, and she talked about, God and Jesus. And I came home, running home from school one day, and I said, "Mommy, mommy, I know what I'm going to be when I grow up." And she
Hmm.
said, "What?" I said, "I want to be a priest."
Hmm.
And then she laughed, my step siblings laughed, and I learned at that point that that is not cool to be a priest.
Yeah.
That is, and they said, it's only weak people who believe in, God, and so I thought, okay, if I'm not going to be a priest, and if that's not cool, who am I? What is my purpose? That
Yeah.
was the thought that ran through my head. So I think that I kind of gave up on myself a lot at
Mm.
that age. I was just not supported, in my family, and nobody kind of saw me. I was invisible. So,
Yeah.
but this first 4 or 5 years of my schooling with this teacher, um, even though I kind of checked out mentally when she was teaching whatever
Yeah.
subject, the singing and the messages she gave me
Yeah.
about being good and making a difference and making people happy. That's kind of what I distilled as the essence of what a priest would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that, I think, has been with me ever since. And so today I feel that working as a coach and workshop facilitator and retreat facilitator, I am in a way kind of a lay priest. You
Yeah.
know that I really help people to connect with their own light with the beauty of who they are, the
Yeah.
essence of their being, so that they can shine and feel alive. And I think that's what Jesus probably would want for all of us to do. So
I'm sure it is, because he would tell those guys, "Where's your faith? You can do exactly what I'm doing." And he would look at them all the time and say, he would point the finger back to them and say, "You can walk on water. You can do these things. You can heal." And they did. So I think that's what he would do even today. So here you are, you're moving forward, and you are in this space, and you decided, 15-year-old. I love that you became so focused, that recognized that school, I need to get this education things because I want something else. And
yes,
so you began to, um, as they say, you began to discipline yourself to achieve what you want. As you began
yes.
that movement, um, where did it take you?
Yeah, so first it was a big struggle for me because there were so many holes in my education. But then
Yeah.
my mother was really there for me. For the first time, she was really there for me. And I was also so motivated and driven. So we had the most beautiful, 3 years together before I actually moved. I moved to Hawaii because
Hmm.
my father had an ex-girlfriend that lived in Hawaii, and so she invited me to come and visit when I had a gap year. And my English was not very good, so I started studying English at the University of Hawaii. And there, I for the first time, I had a teacher, Kathy.
Yeah.
If Kathy ever hears this, because I don't know what her last name is, but Kathy, I get all teary because she was the first person that really focused on, um, something that I did right.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
so encouraging and so positive and so uplifting. So even though I'd worked hard in high school, I just didn't have those kind of teachers that focused on the positive. And just
Yeah.
coming into America and feel the positivism that the Americans carry much more than in Scandinavia, especially in Norway at the time. It just was so liberating. And I became such a hard worker and such a hard
Mhm.
studier because I decided actually to stay in Hawaii. I got a boyfriend and we moved together and whatever. So just
Yeah.
and that gave me such an opportunity in life. So I actually took a master's, no, not a master's at that time. I took a bachelor in business entrepreneurship
Mhm.
yeah, business entrepreneurship and management, because I knew I wanted to be my own boss. I didn't want anybody to boss over me. I have had enough of that in my life. So that led me then to I actually got a job as a management consultant in
Mhm.
Stockholm after I had graduated from a university. And the reason why I got to Stockholm was because I had an American friend who had moved there, and
Mhm.
I just felt that Sweden, because when I visited her, I felt that Sweden was so much more open-minded and so much more culturally rich and
Yeah.
than Norway. Norway was still quite undeveloped at the time,
Yeah.
1990 when I got my first job. And that was before the Olympics in Lillehammer. That
Yeah.
totally changed Norway
Change it.
to the better, because
Mhm.
then they got confidence in themselves and in sports, and then the oil money came in and whatever. So Norway is very different today than it was when I graduated and when I grew up.
Yeah.
But the reason, this is kind of funny, the reason why I wanted to become a management consultant was because I had one big fear, and that
Mhm.
was public speaking. I
Mhm.
thought that public speaking, that was, you know, one of the hardest things that I'd ever done at university. I had this out of body experience when I stood in front of my class and had to hold a presentation, having all those eyes on me.
Wow.
Uh, Even though I knew exactly what to say, I was not used to having any eyes on me. Growing up, everybody
Yeah.
was so busy, doing a
Yeah.
million different things, not giving me any attention. And so getting all this attention was just so challenging. So I thought, by taking on this job where I have to lead workshops,
Mhm.
and stand in front of people, that will help me to overcome my fear of public speaking. Like, let me dive into my own fear. I
Yeah.
already had that understanding that, we have to face our fears to overcome them and not run away
Mhm.
from them.
Yeah, that is a powerful story. And the fact that you ran straight to it. A lot of people run away and they never get started, and it's simply because they haven't run to it. Because that's the answer, really. It is fear that is keeping you standing still. And if you release that and allow yourself to go, trust me, you'll get what you're looking for. So you got a chance to experience the new thinking, the new feeling in a new country. You graduated, you're moving through, you are now jumping in, facing your fears. You picked up a couple of principles and you're um, practicing them, if you will, as you are moving in life, because I want to get to that space where you got to this revelation of your authentic you, because that's a journey I'm very excited to find out, because I know those things, those type revelation comes from a dark place. So
Yes.
talk to us as you are moving in your life and
Hmm.
you're dabbling within the spiritualness of you, but haven't really gone in there fully. What was happening to you as you are now in this new position, this new responsibility? People are giving you the attention, if you will. What was happening to you?
Yeah. So, oh, there were so many things. So, I was struggling with low self-esteem. I had confidence in myself in terms of, feeling quite street smart, but in
Yeah,
terms of seeing my own um, gifts and talents, I was still clueless about that, and I felt very critical of myself. And in my relationship with my then boyfriend, and then that became my husband, we when we argued, he would point out my weaknesses, and I became obsessed with developing my weaknesses.
mm,
But of course, whatever you focus on grows, right?
yeah,
So yeah. So I was focusing so much on developing my weaknesses, and they remained, and then it brought me to feel even more negative about myself. And at work, I wasn't passionate about my work. I had chosen my profession to overcome my fear of public speaking, but not because I was passionate about the work.
right.
And so it was a total wrong angle, to
Mhm,
have when you apply for work. And I got into no, actually at university, I took an elective of dream studies, which I
mhm,
found really fascinating. And then I got into yoga when I was pregnant with my first child. And when I had my second, I got into it even more. And then I started reading, perfect health from Deepak Chopra. I got into Ayurveda. I started to change my diet. I started to feel so much better. And actually, I was in Shavasana when I was around 30 years old, laying on the floor after an Ashtanga yoga session. And I
yeah.
had this rebirth. I understood that wow, there is a connection between body, mind, heart, and spirit. I felt
Yeah.
more alive and more at peace than I had ever experienced in my life before. And then I decided I need to study this. I would like to, figure out what is this connection. And
Yeah.
luckily, my husband and I decided to then move to San Francisco Bay Area because my husband had a business where they opened up a subsidiary in San Francisco, and I was able to take a master's in holistic health education. And finally, I arrived, in studies where I could understand more about myself.
Mm.
And this connection. But it was not before I actually was 40 years old that. So now I'm actually coming to answer your question. I think. We had two daughters, my husband and I, and we have then for the third time, I think, actually, we have moved again, and I was following my husband's dreams
Yeah.
of living at the foot of the Alps. That was his dream. I was not keen on moving at once again with our young children, but I followed him. And one day, uh, I just woke up and I realized, I'm not myself. I'm not happy about life. I am not showing up as my best self. I believe I am much better human being than who I show up to be.
Yeah.
And I was on the floor, feeling so devastated, so out of touch with myself. Uh, and on the floor, crying, being, really devastated. I All of a sudden I got this strength within where I thought, I promised myself, I'm not going to suffer like my mother. I'm not going to be a victim like my mother had been. And so
Mm.
I rose to my feet and I said, first to the universe, my life is going to change. I don't know how, but it's going to change. And I went to my husband and I said exactly the same thing. And he saw it in me. I was really serious, and it got him a little nervous, I think. uh, yeah. And because who knows, my mother had divorced twice, right? Would I leave him? No, so but
Yeah.
I became there was something that happened to me, and I was on my way to Stockholm, where we lived then, at the foot of the Alps.
Yeah.
And I went to Sweden to work because I had given up my career that I had in America when we moved to our new country, and I had kind of given up everything, to follow my husband. And when I came to Stockholm, I met with these women. We were about 10 women who all felt the same way, that they had given up their own dreams, talents, and ambitions to live their husbands and their children's dreams. And they
Wow.
were not very happy. They were quite disconnected from themselves as well. And so on the airplane going back, I thought, wow, we all suffer from low self-esteem and confidence in who we are, because we keep on putting ourselves on the back burner.
Hmm.
And then I got this download of this life purpose model. I thought we need to identify our life purpose so that
Yeah.
we can connect with our authentic self, our true self. And so I started identifying my own life purpose, the
Hmm.
essence of who I am. And it completely, it was like I was like plugging myself into a socket.
Yeah.
I just started affirming myself and seeing myself with completely new eyes. I realized that my the way I'd seen myself, my self belief, was just so different from who I actually was. And
Mhm.
from that moment on, I became so much stronger, so much calmer, so much better at setting healthy boundaries and ask for what I wanted. And from then on, my life completely shifted. And I started offering this life purpose program to other people, and especially to other women. And I did speaking engagements, and the relationship I had with my husband, you know turned around, and the one I had with my children, improved. Everything improved from that
Yeah.
moment on, after I really saw myself, accepted myself, including my weaknesses. But I started focusing on developing my strengths and my gifts and talents, instead of my limitations.
Wow. Annie, that's such a powerful story, and women, or even the men that are listening, um, especially mothers and parents, this is really hard for us to focus on ourselves first before we focus on our family. And Annie's telling her story, and when she was a good mother, she was doing fine, but she herself was not present. She wasn't happy. She wasn't centered. When she made that shift, did you hear how she began to describe her marriage, how she described her relationship with her children? It became better. And so I know, as a parent, I was a single dad with 5 boys. I know what you're going through and how
Mm.
difficult it is for you to focus, because we've been told that if we did that, we are selfish and we
Yes.
are not caring of the children. But I want to tell you that's not true. You are
Hmm.
not selfish. In fact, you want to get to know you. And as you get to know you, you are going to love your kids deeper. You're going to love your mate deeper. Life is going to switch. That uh, perspective that you had before of less than or not able, all of that moved out of the way. And you see yourself as and being in touch with your authentic self will change everyone around you, including you. So take the challenge. I know it takes courage. Um, be courageous
Mm.
and do something for you, and you
Hmm.
will watch it change your life and your children. Because I was going to ask you, what was your relationship with your kids and family and those outside of you after that? And you answered it. So as you are
Yes.
growing and you're getting into loving yourself and seeing this beautiful woman and seeing this powerful being, as you began to share your journey with others and help them to see the beautiful spirit that is in them. Talk to me about you. What was happening to you? What did you discover about you that um, made you want to learn more? Because as you learn about this woman, what were some of those insights that you began to see?
Hmm.
Before that, you were less than, but you,
Mm.
you saw something that gave you passion, gave you strength, gave you
Hmm.
wisdom to learn more. What did you
Mm.
start to see in that woman?
Mm. So, I I saw a woman with a very big heart,
Hmm.
as someone who was very caring and loving, and just wanted to see people happy. And I realized that, I had so many strengths. I was told that I was like a vitamin injection for people, that I always gave so much of myself,
Yeah.
had so much enthusiasm and so much gratitude. for other people, for life, for what I had, and I felt that I am a person with very high moral standards, and you know I always tried to do my best,
Mhm.
uh, but I was too emotional. I had been too emotional, and so I had been reactive in the past, and gotten angry and frustrated, and that kind of covered up my heart. But
Yeah.
I'm a very sensitive person, and but I realized that I'm both sensitive, and very strong,
Yeah.
and so this awakening to the softness of my being,
Mhm.
because I thought that I had to be strong all the time, to be
Yeah.
tough, endure, because growing up, my mother was not a woman who ever talked about emotions, and I never got any emotional support, so I just learned to kind of swallow my pain and just endure and be stoic. I mean, I read this book once, when I went to university, called the subject was called cross-cultural connection, and they wanted to describe each country in one word, and the word that they described Norway with was stoic. So, and that's exactly what I was, stoic, but there's not a lot of room for feelings and emotions and heart by
Yeah.
being stoic. So it was when I could kind of soften to my heart, and to dare to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
and feel my pain, uh, you know that allowed me to feel much more compassion for myself, but also with my children and my husband, because I had been too tough. That was my survival mechanism,
Yeah.
was to be tough. But of course, my husband is a very sensitive man. He's a wonderful man on so many, I mean, really a wonderful man. But he couldn't stand when I was too tough.
Yeah.
And so he has been in addition to my children, he's been a great teacher for me, and it really has helped me grow, um, along with all the books I've read and all the studies I've done and personal growth journey I've taken, to and so my journey has really been one of softening, I would say,
Yeah.
to and to allow all my feelings and emotions to be there, and to understand them, and accept them, and learn from them.
Yeah. When you began to do that, because I want you to talk a little about the authentic you when you're describing her. You hid her through anger and all of those different emotions. And the softness of this authentic you began to um, surface and come, and you beginning to give the dominance of that person, and having the one that is angry subside to the dominance of this soft individual. When that transition began to happen, how did you accept it? Because you got to
How
make
did
this
I what?
metaphor. How did you come to accept that? Because it's been all your life. It's all your life now. You've been known
Yes.
as this one person. When because that transition is uncertain. You're now on. You're not on solid foundation because it's new to you.
Mm,
You don't know anything about this. How was that
no.
transition?
Mm. So first of all, I realized that the way I had operated until that date did not really work. It was not giving me the results that I wanted. It didn't help me to live my dreams. So I
Yeah.
had a dream of living in a marriage and have a family with where I could feel at peace at home, and to provide an environment for my children to experience love and connection. And the way I was operating did not lead to that. So I had to kind of throw away the game plan that I'd had, or the not the game
Mhm.
plan, maybe it's not good, but the strategy I had, you know automatically been kind of leaning into did not work anymore. So I became an explorer, which I am by nature. I call myself a
Yeah.
pathfinder. So I just went out blindly on this new path, um, trying to, be more, yeah, softer and more vulnerable, um, and learn as I went. As with anything in life that you are a novice to, you just have to try it.
Yeah.
And when I felt more exposed, because I didn't have that protection anymore to my
Yeah.
heart that I had in the past by being, so tough. So it made me sometimes withdraw, like
Mhm.
from society, because I was not um, strong enough in the beginning to deal with the toughness of life,
Yeah.
because people are tough, and many people are tough and critical and judgmental, and so I really got to develop a relationship with myself first, and I
Mhm.
did what I needed to do in order to feel like I could fill my own cup by
Yeah.
engaging in what my interests and passions were. I became very, very health conscious. Healed my body, stopped eating all the things that was not supporting my body. So I kind of healed from the inside out, and the stronger I felt in my body, the and the more I became a very good friend to myself, like
Mhm.
enjoying my alone time, for example, which is today the foundation for how I show up in the world, is that I connect with myself every morning
Yeah.
before I meet and greet the world, and that made me feel, empowered enough to be able to show up in the world with whoever and in whatever circumstances, because I was so grounded in myself.
Mhm.
I have such deep roots now that I can handle, I feel like I can handle almost every situation without falling over. And but it came from a deep connection with myself.
Yeah.
So I have journeyed in my life a lot externally,
Yeah.
traveled and explored, but this journey has been the longest journey I've had, has been inside of me.
Yeah. That is the most beautiful
And
one. you know so talk to them, because I know in the initial conversation we were talking about this young girl, because you and I got a chance to talk, and I want you to go into that story because it's a powerful one. Here's this young girl that was in pain with internal things. The intestines of this young girl was a mess. And you, through years of gaining knowledge, began to heal yourself as a result. Talk to the people about that, because there's a lot of people that, because of their emotional restraint, whatever that is developing sickness within them. Talk to them as
mm,
to how important that aspect of their development, understanding the physical, the emotional part of them that is trapped there, causing that pain, if we will.
yes, yes. So when when we feel a lot of emotional pain and we don't deal with it, it impacts our breath first
Hmm.
and foremost. I think very often people in pain, they don't breathe properly because it's a way to not feel the pain.
Yeah.
It impacts often our posture. So we collapse, our shoulders go forward, we collapse as a way to protect our heart. And our organs cannot function well. It
Yeah.
doesn't get the proper massage that our breathing provides when our diaphragm expands into the belly and massages the intestines and everything. That's the proper breathing when you have belly breathing. So, for example, with me, I stopped breathing. I was breathing so poorly that my hands and feet were always ice cold.
Mm.
And my body was also totally collapsed, and I developed so much, pain in my spine at a very, very early age. So, yes, so trapped emotions causes you so much pain. So it's so key to begin to listen to your feelings and emotions and find ways to release uh, the past traumas. We
Yeah.
all have experiences, no matter how good our lives, our parents have been. We have all experienced challenges growing up. And if we understand that, if we have not released the traumas or the pain that we've experienced, it kind of resides still within our body. But through self-reflection, through getting support, through,
Yeah.
for example, yoga, breathing exercises, meditation, we start to uncover, what is trapped in our bodies. And also,
Hmm.
dream studies is a one way to help us to understand what has been covered up in our subconscious mind.
Yeah.
And so, even with people who are living in a lot of physical pain, they can become pain free. I am pain free today. I've had so much pain in my body, uh, problems with my, not only my intestines, but my back, from an early age. And today, I'm 57 years old, and I love to live in my body. I feel so free and strong and empowered in my body. My body is healed, and it's the best feeling. So I look at the body as our temple.
Yeah.
And we need to treat that temple so well by feeding it well, by being good to it, because I was abusive towards my body. As a child, I would just, I would create holes in my own ears. I would push myself. I would hurt. I wouldn't cut myself or anything, but I mean, I didn't treat my body as the temple as it is.
Hmm.
And it ate too much junk food and candy, and now I feel like I'm a health freak because I know what difference it makes, to
Yes.
eat well, to exercise daily. I actually learned that from my father, who is really a role model in terms of taking care of his body. He's almost 87 years old, and he has a motto: a day without training is a day without meaning. And
Wow.
I abide by that. I really believe that we need to move our bodies every day, because that's one way of releasing emotions as well, the
Yes.
stresses of our lives. And I was when I took my master's, I read a book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers.
Hmm.
And it's all about when the zebra is being chased by a lion. uh, they build up a lot of adrenaline, but because they are running away from
Yeah.
the lion, of course one get caught maybe, but the other ones, they keep on running. They release the
Yeah.
adrenaline from their body. The
Yeah.
problem is when that adrenaline is being trapped.
Yeah.
in your body, that's when you start developing illnesses and symptoms, you know.
Yeah, it. I tell people that regular medicine and the healthcare system is not designed to make you healthy. It is designed to keep you sick because that's how they make the money. Uh,
Yes,
so
yes,
they will never try to heal you in any way, shape, or form because they have a partnership with big pharma, as they're called. And these
yes.
pharmacists, pharmacies are just making billions. Think of the
Eh,
amount of money that they would lose if they cured cancer. And that's a big one. But let's say they cure something small. It's
yes,
still billions of dollars. And they will never do that because the healthcare system is a it's it's built on capitalistic healthcare, and
yes,
capitalism is all about money. So if
yes,
you want to get healed, it has to come from a spiritual aspect. It has to come from someplace else. And guess what? You are your body is designed to heal. Medication will shut off parts of your mind and your body so that it will keep you sick. The body is designed to heal. We know that because when you cut it, it keeps, it'll heal. And
mm,
so it is a spiritual journey that you would have to go. And that's why I brought Annie back here because she went through that and she has some insights into that. And all of you that are listening to us that are having issues that with your health and so forth, there's an emotional blockage that she can educate you as to the tools that you can bring into your space to help you to release that adrenaline, as she said. And as you learn how to release those block emotional trauma, you will be amazed at the outcome that you will have in your soul in as well as your body. It just
mm.
happens and you will get your healing. She's not taking medication for it. She has developed a lifestyle, and that lifestyle will always allow you to experience health.
Yes.
Not from all these places.
No,
But go ahead.
exactly. And I think this is so key. You are mentioning that because I am appalled when I see people being on regular medication uh, when they don't need to. If they were just
Hmm.
adjusting their diet, because very often, for example, people get stomach problems as they age,
Hmm.
and they don't understand that it's related to the food that they eat. A lot of people develop intolerances as they age, and instead of figuring out the root cause of their stomach problems, they start
Hmm.
taking medication because the doctors, of course, that's how they make money. And also the doctors, I mean allopathic doctors, first and foremost, they are not educated in a holistic health, you know,
Yes.
holistic health mindset. They are very compartmentalized. They want to go in and treat the symptom rather than understand the cause
Yeah.
of the symptoms.
Yeah.
So I always help people to address the cause, because if you go on medication for numerous years but you are actually intolerant to certain food products, then and it can be other things as well. It can be that you are intolerant to something in your toothpaste, you know,
Hmm.
they're little things, or you can be intolerant to yeast in wine. There are so many things you can be intolerant to that you don't understand until you address it. And when you find out what it is that you can eat and what supports your body, your life and your energy level,
Yeah.
skyrockets, and you feel alive and you feel empowered. But a person who has pain and suffers, they are not givers. They
Yeah.
become so self-absorbed. A person in pain, feel like they need to just heal their body, I think, on the subconscious level, and then they have much less to give to others.
Yeah.
And since I believe we live to give, we need to first give to ourselves and heal our, whatever ailment we have, so that we can become givers to others.
I absolutely agree, and that is why I wanted to circle back here. Um, you guys, I know for me, my body, I can tell, and most people know, like just before you have an attack on your body, most people know. But
Hmm.
because of the type of lifestyle most of them live in, that busyness of living, that they just let it go. And before you know it, you have a cold and all of that. But you know the days before that something is different. And again, it is simply your choice as to how you want to deal with that situation. But if you are aware and you want to deal with it and stay healthy, you will then build up your immune system, because your immune system has just alerted you that something has is trying to attack you, something is trying to do something to you. When you support it with, although there are tons of stuff out there that you can support your immune system with, and it will have that deal with that problem so that you don't have to be sick and all these other things. You just need to pay attention to your body. And one of the things I wanted to say to you guys, self love includes your body. As
Hmm.
people are chasing the, self love and stuff like that, and a lot of them just check and focus on the spiritual aspect of it and forget that their body is a part of the process in loving yourself. You gotta love your body to respect it, to take
Yes.
care of it. And so I would submit to some of you guys, take a look at your body and check yourself to see if you respect it. Because if you do,
Hmm.
you will treat it a little differently than
Yes,
what
yes.
you're doing right now. So here you
I,
are.
I love what I just
Go
love what
ahead.
you're saying, because I am such a believer in that. When we develop an awareness of, our body, we can feel right at the onset of, for example, a cold or flu or whatever, and that
Mhm.
we actually have the power to beat it, to
Yeah.
beat the bacteria or the virus from entering our body. This is one of my signature I would say strengths, is that I have that ability to heal myself, or to kind of fight the germs or whatever. So I never have a cold. And I help everybody around me that I meet to also develop these strategies for how to beat the germs from entering their bodies, with very, very simple steps. And when we get sick, we lose so much time, and we lose our energy, and it's such a waste when it's not necessary. So I'm glad that you have the same experience, Ken, of that, because it's very few people I speak to that even have an understanding that they can boost their immune system and heal, if they just take a short time out, and follow certain steps. But I also love what you said about loving yourself and the mind. If we have a lot of negative thoughts about ourselves, if we have low positive intelligence, as I call it, because then that also has a negative impact on our body. So I
Hmm.
think that it's super important for us to live with more gratitude for who we are, for what we have, to focus on the positive in life, in order to boost our immune system, to boost our well-being. Because if we have too many negative thoughts running through our system, it does create, um, it lowers our energy, and we become much more um, prone to attract illnesses. Is
Yeah,
that your experience as well, Ken?
yeah, absolutely. Um, you had mentioned about gratitude. It's very important. In that I talk to people about the power of words. And there is an experiment, and I can't remember the gentleman's name, the scientist's name, that took water and put certain words where
Yes.
this water would respond to the words. And I tell people that words will affect you and I to a cellular level. Be kind to yourself. If you have negative thoughts about yourself, you are actually damaging your body as well as your soul, man. And so I would say things to myself. I would encourage myself. I would talk to myself, because here's an exercise I would tell someone to do. And I did it with my children to show them the power of their words. I had my youngest and my eldest son stand facing each other. I had the eldest put his hands out, and I told him to say that he's weak, he's weak, he's weak, and just say negative words. And so I had
Hmm.
his little brother put his hand on his big brother's hand, and I told his elder brother, "Do not let him push your hands down. Don't let him move your hand." And I told my
Yeah.
big son, "Go ahead and push his hand." And he could not hold it up. And I said, "Are you?" I said, "What's wrong with you? I mean, you have this little brother of yours. Aren't you strong enough?" And so he stuck
Yes.
his hand out again and began to um, announce those negative words. And I told
Mm.
his younger brother, "Now I want you to speak positive words." And I told him a list of things to say. I told him to put his hands out. And I instructed his elder brother, push his hand, try to move his hand. Did you know he could not move his hand? And I wanted to tell them this because I want them to see how quickly it affects the body, how quickly
Mm.
it affects the mind, simply by
Hmm.
what you say and how you speak to yourself and to others. And so think of yourself when people were telling you all those negative things. It came inside of you and it manifested. And he was talking about how did it show up? It She had stomach knots and all the other things and all the other things that will come as a result. But be kind to yourself. Learn to be grateful and thankful of your body, of you. And as you begin to speak these words, it will affect you at the cellular level, just like it did with the water. And that showed you just by the water looking at those words, the power of words. So I encourage you guys to begin to speak kindness to yourself so that you
Hmm.
can grow and heal, because that's where your healing will come from. As you begin to speak kindly of yourself, incorporate all these other tools. I'm going to put Annie's information, all of it, so you can get to her, and she will educate you as far as the physical aspect, but she will also educate you as to your soul aspect. That
Mm.
process by which you can be your authentic self. Until you get there, guys, you're living
Hmm.
someone else's life. You're not living
Hmm.
yours.
That's so true. I just want to add one more thing here. I just loved your story about how the body responds to negative thinking, but also I pick up on when I see people out in the streets, I can pick up on their energy. I can
Yeah,
see whether they have negative self-talk or not, whether they know themselves, because they radiate. The people who are connected with themselves, with their true self, with their authentic self, and they feel good about who they are, they they shine. They have a different energy about them that makes them attractive. So if you want to attract either people into your life or the things you dream of, having a healthy, positive relationship with yourself is so key, because otherwise, you will not have that energy that's necessary in order for you to become the magnet to what it is that you want.
Exactly. Um, I'm telling you, we've had so much fun. It's in an hour and we haven't even touched the surface yet. And guys, I really, really want you. We're going to provide everything for Annie because she is one powerful woman that has connected with herself and she sees the beauty. She has learned how to heal. I want you guys to hear that. Heal um, issues that her body, a certain aspect. And she will teach you those same principles. I don't care what you're suffering from. When you recognize the principle, it will adjust to you and heal you from where you are. I've heard many stories in my life, and I've interviewed many people that have healed themselves. Recently, I just interviewed a gentleman that broke his back and healed his back, broke his knees. Why? Because the body is designed that way. And then when we do things to support it, we will get our healing. I'm telling you, just that's what happens. So I'm going to provide everything. I want you guys to get in touch with her. She and I have had a wonderful conversation, and we're going to continue this conversation because I want to um, welcome one of my friends. I will consider her a friend that I can call and lean on and have conversation about where I'm located, what's going on, what's out there, do you feel, what energy, what it is. I want to be in her space so that I can learn also the tools that she has learned so that she can. I want to become a disciple. I don't want to be someone just dropping by and becoming a member. I want to become a disciple um, with Annie so that she can instruct me as I sit at her feet, learning and gaining wisdom to become the best me while I'm here on this planet. I invite you all to come and join her and join me as well. And thank you so much for coming to Threads of Enlightenment.
Thank you so much, Ken. This has been such an honor to meet with you and speak with you and share our life philosophies about how to be our best selves and live our purpose and potential. This precious life is so. It has we have such an opportunity to make the best out of life if we so choose to, and I can't wait to speak with you again, Ken, and wishing you and that are listening all the best and hope to connect. I love connecting with people just to have a little chat and see if I can be of support.
Excellent. Thank you so much.